Now, on top of that, Coach Stephanie White and Odyssey Sims also both got technical fouls, and I felt like this was really a turning point in the game. After the game, in the post-game presser, Coach Steph White talked about it. She said, "We used both of our challenges. We didn't have any. The refs were horrible the whole game." The entire bench ran off the bench, started going at the referee, and then Coach Stephanie White just followed her to half court.
Was game one actually decided by the players on the floor? Or was it stolen by the referees? Fans are already calling it rigged, and Stephanie White's furious outburst might be the proof everyone's been waiting for. She literally picked up a technical foul just for voicing what the crowd was screaming, and that's not normal. The opening game of a playoff series is supposed to be about basketball. Instead, the biggest storyline is whether the officiating tilted the entire balance. Let's break down the exact moments that have fans certain the system failed the fever. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. What makes a coach completely lose it on the sidelines in a playoff matchup? It's not just a random flare of anger. It usually builds play after play until that explosion feels like the only way to be heard.
The referees have once again been a huge topic of conversation about this game. We've talked about the referees since day one in the WNBA. I'm not going to sit on here and continue to complain. Literally everyone is going to keep complaining about them until they get better. They haven't even gotten better for playoffs. There were a couple plays that the Indiana Fever challenged. We know they're bad. We know they're going to constantly be bad. Everyone keeps complaining about them. Coaches, players, podcast hosts.
For Stephanie White, that breaking point came in game one, and the stage was set before the opening tip. The Fever weren't just short-handed, they were almost gutted. 6 players from the regular rotation were unavailable. Caitlin Clark, the engine of their offense and spark of their crowd, was sidelined. That left White staring at a bench that looked more like a practice squad than a postseason roster. Every possession was already going to be a battle just to keep pace. Now picture how the game actually began. Instead of folding, Indiana looked sharp. Kelsey Mitchell came out hitting jumper after jumper, controlling the tempo like she had a point to prove. Aaliyah Boston carved out space in the paint, vacuuming up rebounds and throwing her weight around with confidence. On paper, it looked like they were ready to shock everyone who doubted them. But then came the whistles, and that's where the frustration started bubbling.
Here's the first one. You can see Aaliyah Boston guarding Bree Jones, and then you can see Bree Jones goes up with her right hand, and she takes her left hand and kind of pushes Aaliyah Boston's hand away. Now, they called the whistle right here saying that Aaliyah Boston hit her arm. If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down. Lexi Hall's guarding her. Ryan goes behind her back. Lexi doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time. She has her hand straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexi played here. You can see Lexi like slightly touches her arm. But if you're going to call a foul on that little tiny like tap on Ryan's arm, then you're going to have to blow the whistle.
One of the most frustrating sequences early on involved Lexi Hall. She slid perfectly into position on defense. Chest square, feet planted, even kept her hands up without reaching. Normally, that's a textbook stop. Instead, the whistle blew against her. The crowd groaned. White threw her hands in the air, and the Dream were gifted 2 free throws. Calls like that are the ones that eat away at your composure because they don't just add points to the opponent, they erase the work your team just did. Moments later, it escalated. Boston, who had been controlling the boards, took a shot to the face from an elbow while boxing out. No call, nothing. She stumbled back. The play continued, and Atlanta scored at the other end. Imagine being her teammate in that moment. You sacrifice your body, get hit in the face, and the striped shirts literally act like nothing happened. The building erupted with boos, and it felt less like a competitive game and more like invisible forces were tilting it against Indiana. That's when White decided she couldn't rely on the refs at all. She burned her first challenge almost immediately, hoping it would overturn a call.
The refs blew the whistle, but then Odyssey Sims kind of slapped the ball away. And then I think she said something, because if they called the tech on her just slapping the ball away, also, again, that was so trivial that Coach Steph White did this. Like, if anyone needs to get a tech in this situation when it comes to arguing with the refs, it should be the coach. But she got a tech here. And then there was another play. It was never cleared up. Odyssey Sims, she got tripped by someone, was on the ground, but there were two back-to-back technicals here at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And that was really, I felt like, a turning point for the game. So they had none going into the second half. In both of the plays that they challenged, they actually won those challenges. So the refs messed up.
No luck. The ruling stood. Later, another questionable whistle put her team on the wrong end again. She used her final challenge, desperately trying to salvage a fair outcome. Once again, the officials held their ground, and she lost not only the challenge, but also the 2 timeouts that came with it. If challenges are like lifelines, White had thrown them away because she didn't trust the officials to correct themselves. By the third quarter, fans were livid. Every trip down the court seemed to bring a chorus of boos. Chants directed at the referees poured down from the stands, and players' frustration was written all over their faces. White, standing just a few feet from the action, felt the same emotions multiplied by 10. Coaches can only bite their tongue so long. Finally, midway through a stretch of nonstop whistles, something inside her snapped. She stormed toward the referees, shouting words that thousands in the arena probably wished they could say themselves. The bench erupted, the crowd went wild, and within seconds the officials slapped her with a technical foul. Here's the thing, her outburst wasn't about that single call. It was about every no call when her team got hit, every foul that seemed one-sided, and the repeated feeling that the Fever weren't just battling Atlanta but also the people holding whistles. White transformed in that instant. She wasn't just coaching, she turned into the lightning rod for everyone's anger. She sacrificed her own composure and accepted the punishment just to make sure the players and fans knew they weren't alone in feeling robbed. That's why it resonated so deeply. When she exploded, it wasn't a selfish move. It was a moment where a coach risked herself to voice the truth of what was happening. That makes it feel bigger than basketball. But as rough as Game 1 ended, chaos doesn't always stay the same. The real story becomes what happens in Game 2 back in Indiana, where the Fever now have the chance to rewrite the atmosphere. That game didn't feel like a normal loss. It looked like the Fever were fighting 2 battles at once, one against the dream and one against the officials. Fans in the arena felt it, and you could see it on the faces of the players too. So what do you think? Were the Fever actually robbed? Does the WNBA need to take a hard look at officiating? Drop your thoughts, because this is bigger than one moment. Game 2 is in Indiana now, and the real question is simple. Can the Fever flip the script, or will the whistle control everything again?